There's a type of garment that I wore back in the 90s when I was a teen that it's made a huge comeback, and I'm all in. It's a classic vest, so pretty, and I'm sharing one today. Look at this, and it's fully lined. Gorgeous. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I have a really classic piece to share with you today. And I'm a little bit kicking myself for not having made more of these over the years because it's a piece I've always loved, and it's a type of garment I wore a lot. And I'm not going to tell you, yeah, a lot, I mean a lot. In the 90s when I was a teenager, I made these types of vests for my mum and myself so many times. And I would make them from small amounts left over. You don't need much fabric for these garments. And I used to love, love, love wearing them. And then over the years, I suppose I forgot a little bit about them, but I've seen a little bit of a comeback with vests lately in the last 2 years or so. And I finally made one. Before I get fully into this vest pattern, I wanted to let you know about some information that you might know of or you might not. There are a lot of pattern companies having Black Friday sales along with, any other business in the planet right now. And there are quite a few sales happening right now. The majority of these go through Monday the 27th, so it's a good time to get patterns. Usually these are the biggest discounts you would ever see during the year. So for example, the pattern I'm going to share with you today is the Pika Vest from Wardrobe by Me. And Wardrobe by Me has only one sale per year, and this is the time. They do have smaller sales when they release a pattern, but I'm talking about a site-wide sale. So all the patterns at Wardrobe by Me are 30% off with the code WBM. That stands for Wardrobe by Me 30. That's all the code that you need to add on at checkout to get 30% off the patterns. This is one of the ones I made from Wardrobe by Me, I think a year and a half ago, the perfect tunic. Gorgeous. I've made quite a few nice patterns from Wardrobe by Me. I love the drafting, the feet, and the fact that there's a lot of woven projects there. If you want to get any patterns from Wardrobe by Me, please use my affiliate link if you would like to support my work. I'll leave you that link in the description box. I'll also leave you the playlist of all the Wardrobe by Me patterns I've made and have tutorials about. Other brands that are having Black Friday sales that I know of are Green Style Creations. Green Style is having a 45% off, which is an amazing discount. It's the biggest I've ever seen. The code you need to use there is BF, that stands for Black Friday 23. So I'll also leave you my playlist with all my Green Style makes and my affiliate link. And then Pattern Emporium is running a sort of modified Black Friday sale. Pattern Emporium has a big sale at the end of December for Boxing Day. So this is just the Essentials collection, which includes t-shirts and tanks. I think it's 10 or 11 patterns that are 20% off through Monday the 27th as well. So I'll leave you all the information about Black Friday sales down below. Those are the ones I know up to now. I know tomorrow there's another Black Friday sale that starts with another brand that I really love. So look out for the videos coming in the next couple of days, plugging all of this in here. Remember to always check the description box and the first comment down below because it's easy to find all the links in the pinned comment. Okay, and the Pika Vest. It's got classic princess seams. I love that. And as with any vest, it's longer in the front, shorter in the back. It's got that classic type V point there. The waistline on the side seams is a little higher, so then it slants down to a longer point at the front. Amazing shaping with a center back seam and waist studs at the back. Love all the details. Now this is a fully lined vest. On the inside you have facings and the lining, so you have an inner layer and an outer layer that comes together and gets bagged out. 4 buttons down the front. They're little welt pockets, but they're to trick you because they're not functional. It's just a little flap that's sewn on there and flipped up, and it's purely decorative. Now, this is a pretty short vest. If you wanted to have a functional pocket in there, you would get the tiniest pocket, like an inch deep. And maybe you've seen some male waistcoats. They have sometimes a functional pocket that you put your hand in and nothing fits there, maybe a coin. So yeah, these pockets are purely decorative. They look amazing though, but they're not real. They don't have a pocket bag inside. It's just sewn all on the outside. So there's no snipping or clipping and all of that thing that you would see with a welt pocket here. It's very easy. It's got a V neckline. I was very open-minded as how this was going to fit and if I was going to be able to wear this on its own as a single layer, just with a bra underneath, or always lay it over something like a cami or a turtleneck. This is designed for woven fabrics and you could use medium to weight heavy fabrics here. I wouldn't go too lightweight or else everything would look really floppy. So anywhere from cotton, twill to denim, corduroy, Maybe a velvet, just be careful with the nap and the direction that you place all the pieces. A wool suiting, of course linen would be amazing. Now the fabric I've chosen is a very, very interesting one I found in my stash. And I would class it as a wool suiting blend. The blend is wool, rayon and polyester. It's really soft, it feels really nice on the skin, it's not scratchy and it's not that hot, which is what I really wanted. There's a little bit of texture going on with the fabric, although it's just one color, there is a stripe component in here. But because it's all just one color, I'm not trying to match these stripes, so that's nice. For the lining inside, you can use different types of fabrics. The amount you need for the lining is so tiny, I'm telling you, it's so small because it's only for 2 pieces. So if you had a little bit of silk left over from something, you could use that. You could use rayon, cotton lawn, rayon Bemberg, something like that, and that's all you need. It's so little. You do need fusible interfacing, and I would say you need quite a lot of it because there are a lot of pieces that are interfaced. Now, because of my fabric choice, I decided to interface the center front, the whole piece, not just the facing. And my fabric is not very stable and it's loosely woven. It could deform and stretch out of shape. So that's why I'm using a bit more interfacing than usual. And just let me show you how I prep this fabric, because I'm not going to throw this fabric in the washing machine. There's no way I'm going to throw this into the washing machine. That is not the way I would wash the finalized garment ever. So just to give it a prep, I'm giving it a good steam. I'm not making the iron touch the fabric at all. I've just got it on full steam and going back and forth and just steaming the fabric. I'm going to let it just dry out like this, extended, and when it's nice and dry, I'll start working on it. This steaming process will allow the fabric to shrink if it wants to shrink a little bit. And this is how I prepare any wool blend suitings. The sizing goes from 0 to 24 US, that goes up to a 53.5-inch hip. And this is a semi-fitted design and chose a size 18. And you get about 1.5 inches of ease at the bust, about 4 inches at the waist. And then don't be confused, because if you look at the finished garment measurements and you look at the hip and then you look down below, you're going to see it's smaller. And it's not because there's negative ease, it's because this is a short jacket. So the circumference where the jacket ends is way above where your full hip is. It's around the high hip. That's why it looks like it's 1.5 inches smaller than your full hip. But it's just because of where the hem hits your body. So that's important to note, because this is not a garment you want to be changing the lengths with. You don't want to be making it longer. I suppose you could make it shorter if you wanted, but any length adjustment here is going to be very work intensive because you're going to have to modify all the pieces, including the lining and the facing. And because of the shape of the front where you have slanted areas, it could distort the shape in the end. So I would suggest just making the original length. Fitting adjustments you can do are blending in sizes, correcting the curve of the princess seam, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't be changing the length just because I want a longer vest. These vests are not long. If you look at pictures, they are not long garments. They're meant to be at the high hip. Of course, I'm going to make a test garment. I don't want to ruin my beautiful, beautiful fabric. And it's so easy because it's only a few pieces and sewing them can take only a few minutes. So let's see a little bit about my test garment that's non-wearable. These are the only 3 pieces you need to make a non-wearable test garment. Takes up very little fabric. I think it's very worth your time. The main thing I'm checking here is bust height. So the pattern has a notch that will match the center front to the side front at the princess seam. I just extended it and made it a little longer so that when I try these wrong sides out, I can see where the highest part of the bust on the pattern is compared to me. I'd rather check that on the test garment rather than trying to figure out with flat pattern measurements. Usually on princess seams, it's just easier to see, because I'll see if my bust is below that yellow line and then I can adjust or not. Another mark that's important to have on this fabric is the center front, and that is marked on the pattern. So this is where the overlap is going to be. So I've got a yellow line there so that when I try this on, I can overlap it on that line to see if I'm happy with the ease. Here is my test garment. This is a straight size 18, and there are a few things I want to check, mainly where the bust point is on this curve, this princess seam. Over here I have a yellow mark that marks the fullest part of the princess seam. I have the bra that I wear out all the time and it's actually at the right spot. So I think this princess seam curve on this pattern is perfectly placed for me. I don't have tightness or pulling, which usually happens when the curve is higher than where my bust point is. I don't have excess fabric over here that I need to drape away either. If you look on the side, it's very, very smooth. And I'm just very, very surprised because usually I would need to make a change on a princess seam. In a lot of cases, not in all of them. But this one was actually made just for my body. It's amazing. Now remember, I marked a yellow line right there. That is where the overlap will happen once you have it buttoned up. So I have it pinned right there. So I know that this is the way it's supposed to fit. It's got a small amount of ease. This is a semi-fitted garment. So I think everything is looking pretty good. It's shorter in the back. That is the way it's supposed to be. There are some darts at the back here and I think they fit well. I really would not want to go around modifying the length on this one. Let's go with this original length. This is fine. This is how a vest is supposed to be, sort of at the high hip. Maybe I'll consider wearing this on its own, only if I wear it with a sports bra, because I know there's a little bit that's going to show. I do not want to go around and mess with this to try and make it higher. That would be just too much change for everything. So I want to make it like it is. And I think I could wear it on its own with a sports bra. The armhole cover, if I was to wear this on its own, is fine. I don't think I'm too exposed here. It's absolutely fine. The sewing, I'm going to share a summary of the sewing. So I have the whole project from start to finish over on my Patreon page. The Orchid Tea gets a full sew along from me every month. So over here, I'm going to share a summary of interfacing the pattern pieces, general construction. I'm going to show you something about joining the facings to the lining inside and how to join the main layer and the inner layer together and bag it out. So you will still see very practical things. I've decided to interface the center front piece, so I'm doing block fusing. You can see I've got a piece of fabric that is slightly larger than the pattern piece, and those two layers are already interfaced. If the fabric wanted to react to the adhesive of the interfacing, it already did. So now that I'm cutting the piece, I'm going to make sure it's going to have the same original shape and size as it was meant to be. This is quite a loosely woven material, and I think that V point there needs to remain stable, and I think interfacing the whole piece is the only way this will be done. I would usually interface the center front piece of a jacket or a vest anyway, so this is not uncommon. There are a lot of pieces to interface here, and what I did was place them on a piece of fabric, figured out how much fabric I needed, then I removed them all, and I just interfaced this whole piece. This is a piece actually that's on the fold. There are two pieces here that are on the fold, the back hem facing and the back facing. All the rest are not on the fold, and there's facings for the hem, for the armholes, and the center front. You can see that they are placed right there on top of the fabric that's already interfaced, and that's the way I'm going to cut them out, and that's block fusing. Here are the pattern pieces for the main layer. There's not many of them, as you can see. There is a center front that's interfaced, there is a side front that's not interfaced, and there's the back also not interfaced with a yellow coloring pencil dipped in water. Those marks last and they don't go away while I'm sewing, so it's better than chalk or any other tool. Now for the back darts, I had a bit more of a problem marking those because I did it with a tracing paper for sewing, and although the mark stayed, it was quickly coming out before my eyes. So I decided to mark those darts with thread while I could still see the mark that the tracing paper made. Any type of tracing tool is not going to stay very long on this type of fabric, so that's why I used the coloring pencil for little dots and dashes. I'm not going to mark a whole dart with that. I already have pinned the center back seam. And one thing I want to do with this one, just because the fabric frays so much, is get a few of the edges serged beforehand, like the center back seams and the side seams. Those will be done separately because I will be pressing those seams open. The little piece on the top, the little black piece, is interfaced, and that is going to be the fake welt pocket flap. Here are all the pieces for the inner layer. You can see that the printed fabric is all you need to cut out the lining pieces, the front and the back. The black pieces you see there are from the same main fabric. They are all interfaced and there's facings everywhere. For the front, you can have hem facing, center front facing, and armhole facings. For the back, you can have that lining piece on the fold. The hem facing is on the fold, armhole facings, and the neckline facing up on the top, that's on the fold. Before I do anything, I want to stay stitch. This fabric will stretch out. It's just not a stable fabric, but I would do this regardless. I'm doing the neckline. I always do these directionally from the shoulder into the center. And then on the other side, I do the same thing. I just flip the fabric. This is the back neckline here. Continuing on the back piece, I'm doing the back armholes, going from the shoulder out to the side seams directionally for both layers. For the armholes on the front, it's going to be composed of 2 pieces to complete that armhole. First, a short little section from the side front pieces, and then we're going to have an interface section from the center front pieces that will compose the entire armhole. I'm doing all of this with a straight stitch, regular stitch length within the seam allowance. The seam allowance here is going to be 3/8, so this is smaller than 3/8. And then I'm also stay stitching the front neckline, the slanted, the V section that could easily stretch out. Even though this is interface, it could still happen, so I'd rather be safe than sorry. Now that all the pieces are put together for the front and the back, I've put them right sides together at the shoulder seams, and we're just going to sew those and press those open. And then we're going to leave this all aside and start working on putting the internal layer together.
Here is the back inner layer all assembled. It looks really pretty. I just can't wait to put all of this together. But now we're going to set this aside and put the front pieces together.
This is the hem facing. You can see that it's not a rectangle, it's sort of slanted as well, and it's got a little mark there. On the wrong side here, there's also a little mark. This is the center. Here is the side seam. We have both right sides of fabric together. We're going to flip it like this. Once we have these hem facing sewn, then we can go ahead and sew the center front facing, and then the lengths are going to match. Here we have one of the front pieces with hem facing sewn on. Now we're going to take our larger facing pieces. This is the one for this side. Both are wrong sides up. On these, you're going to have a little mark, and that's going to match the little pleat that we have here. I'm actually going to pin it like this, as I've been doing it everywhere else. At the bottom, you can see these flat edges. These are supposed to match like this, right there. And then we pin all the way up here to the shoulder seams on both sides. Now that we have our fronts done, I'm going to put these on top of the back here. And now we get to align the shoulder seams and sew those together. The side seams come at a later stage when we are joining the main layer with the lining layer, so the side seams are going to be left open. Now it's time to put all the layers together. So I've placed my main layer right sides up here, front, back over there, shoulder seams there, and I'm going to take the lining layer and place it right on top, right sides together. Now what we need to sew are both armholes on both sides and the neckline from the bottom around there and there. We're not sewing the bottoms or the sides yet, it's just armholes and neckline. So I'm going to take my sweet time to pin it all together. I might even hand baste it together so nothing moves around. Taking the time to hand baste is going to make the sewing so much nicer, and I don't have to worry about pins. You can see that at the bottom we have the slanted edge and then this angle, and everything matches perfectly. On the front piece, it's just one single piece. But here on the inside, this area is composed of several pieces, the hem facing and this one. But at that seam there, it all joins in a point. And so we're going to sew from here, which is 3/8, starting there, going up. Here's another angle. This is the V neckline, the back neckline, and then it goes all the way down to the other side. For all of these seams, I'm sewing with the inner layer on top and the main layer on the bottom. When I get to these little angles, I don't just pivot, I would just prefer to finish the seam and then start again. So I have an intersection of seams. I think it just makes it more stable in that area, and it just flips nicely. After sewing the neckline, I've got my armholes basted together as well. Before we turn these right sides out, we need to snip into these curves because this is the moment when we have access to them. There. I've laid it on the table so that you can see. What we need to do now is turn this right sides out through the shoulders. So I'm going in through the bottom of the hem from the back side and just putting my hands in through the shoulders to grab all the fronts and then just push them in through like this. So I'm going to be as gentle as possible to pull all this out.
Whenever we start pulling things right sides out, it always ends up looking like a hot mess at the beginning, but it's starting to resemble the finished garment and I'm so excited. In the instructions, the way that everything's going to be finished is with top stitching. So all along the edges, you would just roll these seams to make them really neat and then top stitch at 1/4 inch everywhere. That's the way it's going to be finished all the way around. I don't think it's the right finish for this type of fabric and the look that I'm going for, so I'm going to understitch instead of top stitching. I think you can do either or. If this was linen, I would probably top stitch.
Okay, I have sorted out my armholes and my neckline with understitching, so that's a step I don't have to do later. And now what we're going to do is sew the side seams. They're still loose. So all we need to do is join these at the armholes, extend it, and on one side we're going to have the lining layer, on the other side we're going to have the main layer. For one of these, we're going to sew it all the way. For the other side, we're going to leave an opening on the lining area because that's how we're going to finish sewing the hem. Here is the main layer and here is the facing, and just like we understitched, this seam allowance has to be on top of the facing here, but at the bottom the seam allowance is going to be flat. This is why I didn't understitch on this side, because I didn't want to have the bulk of the understitching there. This is the side where I'm just going to sew the whole side seam. I'm going to leave the opening on the other side. We still have the raw hem, so we still have the 2 layers like this. What we need to do to sew the hem is to turn the vest wrong sides out again, and then we're going to pull it back out through that opening we have on the side seam. So we just need to align the hems now right sides together by just flipping this to the other side. Here we have the side seams that we're going to match. This is slanted, here is the back. And that is the next step that we need to do. Align all the bottom raw edge, sew that up, and then we're going to turn the vest right sides out again through this opening that we left on one of the side seams. So I'm just going to keep pulling all the garment out through here. These are the final details. Now, it's at this stage that you would be doing all the top stitching if you want to follow the instructions, which would include 1/4 inch top stitch around the bottom, all the way on this shape, all the way around, everywhere, and the armholes. But you know that I went a different route. I don't want that top stitching anywhere on my vest. I want it to look very clean. So far, so good. If you had top stitched the hem, that would hold it in place where it has to be. Now, the lining, as you see, has a little bit of vertical ease right here. Lining is always supposed to be a little bit longer than the main piece. And if you top stitched, that's fine, the hem would stay in place and that vertical ease will just flow in there. I'm going to do something different and I'm not going to regret it because I'm going to like the final look. What I've done here is 2 rows of hand basting. The first one was just to roll the seam towards the inside instead of understitching. So that's going to make it look really clean, and then I just pressed it, tidied it up, and then hand basted a little below the edge where these 2 join, where the seam is. So I've got that in place. What I'm going to do now is flip it to the other side again through here. I already have this in place, so this is where it's supposed to be. All I'm going to do now is hand sew the hem all the way through the inside so that this actually is hemmed in place, so that the hem facing is up and actually hand sewn on, but it's going to be invisible, tiny stitches. It's not going to be seen, and that's going to keep this hem facing up where it has to be, fixed in place. I've got this on my lap right here. On the corners, I'm not going to go right through all the way to the corners, a little further. I don't want to just pull all of this out. So I'm about 2 inches away from the corners at the center front, and that's where I'm starting my hand sewing. I've put a few pins to hold it in place. I've got my hand here through the opening so I can access this area, and I'm just doing a basic slip stitch, basically grabbing a little bit here, a little bit over here, and I'm just gonna quickly hand sew this hem, and I'm gonna go all the way across to the other side, stopping a little short from the corners there. This is gonna keep my hem in place. Very clean look. This is more of a tailored type of vest. Some of the techniques are not in the instructions. The way I'm doing it is just gonna make me super happy. Although it's a few extra steps, I'm not gonna regret this at all. After doing my hand hem, I turned it right sides out again through the opening. So essentially the main construction is done for me at this point. Now this opening here on the side, I'm just gonna do a quick sleep. Here is my finished Pika Vest. Now, as usual, with 100% of all of my videos, this burgundy looks dark red. In my eyes, it's burgundy, but there you go. It looks red to you. But it's just such a beautiful color. And look at the texture here. It's so pretty. You have these features here that makes it look like the stripes, but I'm not trying to match them, and that is amazing. This is the center front piece that is fully interfaced, and that includes a point there. This is an area that could easily deform and stretch out if you don't have a fabric that's really structured. So I would have done the same thing for linen as well. Probably for a cotton twill or a denim, I wouldn't have, but for a wool suiting, I would have. Maybe not for a velvet or a corduroy because they're more densely woven and more stable. You see me do things that are different sometimes, and it's because I take each project as unique and I make decisions based on that project, for that fabric, for that look. There's lots of variables to consider. So that's why I did things a little bit different here. The finish everywhere here would have been so much easier if I just top stitched everything. As you can see in the liner, it would have saved me so much time. But because of this fabric and that I wanted a really clean look, I just decided to understitch the facings instead and hand sew this hem inside instead of top stitching it, and it looks so nice. I mean, it took me longer, but I don't regret it, and everything looks so clean. There's the dart over here that ends up on the hem, and the fake welt pockets are really cute, so nice. They look like the real deal, but you wouldn't have space to have a real pocket in here. And that is the lining inside. It's a really lightweight cotton lawn, feels amazing on the skin. This part here is not itchy at all on my skin, and I really was worried about that because who wants to wear something that itches? No one. Now, the original design had 4 buttons, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to do 4 or 5 because I always want one at my apex. So I made sure to try this on, pin everything, and figure out that first before just blindly doing the 4 buttonholes. And it turns out 4 buttonholes were fine. I didn't need an extra one. So that is it. It is so pretty. It's so amazing. This is my Pika Vest from Wardrobe by Me, size 18. Actually, 0 fitting adjustments here, and I made mine in a really nice soft wool blend suiting material, burgundy dark red color, and I've got it paired with a pair of rayon wide leg pants. I love something that's semi-fitted and shorter over something wider like these bottoms. I think it looks really cute, and I have a tight cami underneath. I'm very happy with the fit, the classic look, longer in the front with the points. Those welt pockets that you see there are fake. The lining inside is very pretty. It's a cotton lawn. The shaping is phenomenal. There are waist studs on the back, and I'm just so happy to have this piece. The fabric has a texture. It's just so amazing. The welt pockets are just for show, as I said. They're just decoration, not real, and everything fits really well. I'm really happy with the proportions here of the length at the back and the front. Here you can see the fit of the princess seam is really good, and the armhole has good cover. You know, this garment is meant to be worn over things usually, but I know I'm going to be wearing it like a sleeveless something. There it is, all buttoned up, although I would not wear it all buttoned up with a cami underneath. I just think it's too much bulk. I would probably wear it buttoned up only if I was wearing a bra underneath. You'll see that option in a second. I really enjoyed making it. Fun techniques, beautiful results. Facings and the lining inside keep everything neat. And let's see more look. Here I have an almost monochromatic look, a little bit more dressed up with a pencil skirt in a stretched scuba suede. Very similar colors here with the same black cami underneath. Here you can see it worn open, and I love it dressed up like this. It's absolutely my jam. I was wearing this exact type of outfit when I was a teenager, so it brings me back. And in the next little clip, you'll see the same outfit but without the cami and the vest fully buttoned up, so you can see what the fit is there. What you see on the neckline is actually a sports bra that I have that has a higher neckline, so I'm happy to wear it like that because I'm not showing any cleavage, and it just looks like I'm wearing a cami underneath, but I'm actually just wearing a really good sports bra that has no lace, nothing like that. So very good. I'm happy with everything. The princess seams fit amazing. I'm very happy with the fit everywhere. Now let's make it a little more sporty. I've got a knit skirt, pull up, very comfortable. I have some really cool Adidas sneakers that sort of match the color, and I would be very happy to spend the whole day like this, being very comfortable. Again, the vest worn as a single layer, just my sports bra underneath, and that's it. The fabric is a mix of wool and rayon and polyester, and believe it or not, it's not that hot to wear at all. It feels nice. I think it would be okay for spring or autumn for me, and I would be very happy to just wear it on its own like this and not feel hot. Of course, I could wear something long sleeve underneath, but this is the look that I'm going for here. Sporty, casual, fun and fresh. In the next clip, you'll see it styled more wintry. Here I've got a long pencil skirt made in a neat stretch velvet type corduroy with a slit and a turtleneck, fully handmade, every single piece here. I have some boots that I bought in New Zealand so many years ago, such good quality. They're still going strong in that same type of dark red burgundy wine color. And I love this winter look. This is a look for me this year that I've started wearing long skirts again, and I think the Pika Vest fits perfectly here as a really cool layering piece that just makes the outfit a little more interesting and gives you just enough warmth, just a little bit, and also makes the outfit look amazing. Love the color combination here and all of these garments put together. I can't tell you how much I love this vest. It's so pretty. I'm just upset that I haven't made these in such a long time because I knew how much I love them. I've never stopped liking them. I suppose when you stop seeing certain styles in the shops and, you know, people wearing them, you sort of forget that they exist. I wish I would have had time to make a linen unlined one. You know, if you make one without the lining, you still have all the facings in the pattern. You just skip the lining and sew the facings on. And yeah, it would take a lot less time to make an unlined one. And I would make a linen unlined one for sure. I just didn't have time. I'm very happy and I'm super excited that I have a lot of this fabric still. When I found this fabric, I loved it so much that I bought a lot of yardage. So I have enough to make probably a pair of wide leg pants and a skirt. I can't wait because eventually I could pair them up and wear them as a set. So I'm very, very excited about that. And for the styling options that you just saw, my favorite was the one styled with the wide leg pants. I think it balances out really well the proportions there because it's a shorter semi-fitted style. I really love that look there. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the options and I really enjoyed this one. Don't forget to check out the Black Friday sale at Wardrobe by Me. It finishes on Monday the 27th. It's only big sale of the year, so it's a good time to get patterns and they are really good quality, very well drafted. And don't forget to use my link. I'll see you very, very soon with another sewing video here on this channel. Bye.